Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
We're in Way Media. Welcome back, Midnight viewers. Well, okay, listen. If you're listening on the Patreon channel, first of all, thank you for your continued patronage, and you're listening to Cable Box Theater. If this is the regular feed and you're listening to this for free, this is a show called HP Hates Me, where tonight we're looking at a program. Now, from the Cable Box Theater point of view, we like to take shows that were theatrical shows that were filmed and then presented on cable. And this fits the bill. It was recorded. It is a live theatrical performance that aired on HBO on August the 9th, 1986. Tonight, we are looking at Billy Crystal, Don't Get Me Started, also known as the Billy Crystal Special.
I don't know if there's enough here for a show.
Are you kidding me? We got tons of footage. We got tons of footage here.
Yeah, but people aren't even going to know what this show's about, Marty.
Well, you explain it to them. We explained that you were going to do a special. You rented a big house. You had all the cast members come over there. I went and documented the whole thing with my documentary film crew. I mean, you just explain that to them.
I don't know.
What? It's beautiful. We'll get to see these characters in a deeper light, with more nuance and more depth. I mean, it's a chance to really get to. I mean, I think we only scratched the surface for the first time.
It sounds like a cheap way to make money.
Well, it's that too.
Yeah, but see, it's different for me. I'd rather it's not the money that I'm interested in. It's the art.
Yeah. Say, well, that's where we differ. I think money is part of the art. It's the art of making money. See, the thing is, we got all this footage. It's already shot. All we have is the cost of the editing, right? That's no big deal. When we make a cable deal with HBO, there you go.
Well, let's take a look at what you got.
All right.
This is directed by Billy Crystal and Paul Flaherty, written by Dick Blasucci, Billy Crystal, Paul Flaherty, and uncredited work by Rob Reiner, starring Billy Crystal, mainly, Rob Reiner as Marty DeBurgi, his second appearance as Marty DeBurgi. Is this the second official appearance, do you think?
I think it was. I think this is, I mean, I mentioned to you, I saw this before I saw Spinal Tap. So going back, I was like, wow, this is like the lost link between Tap and Billy Crystal's SNL sojourn. So yeah, this was, anyway, short story long. I believe this was the second time we see Marty DiBergi.
Speaking of Spinal Tap, also starring Christopher Guest, Eugene Levy, Theodore Gottlieb. That's Brother Theodore, for those of you who don't know. In fact, if you don't know Brother Theodore, what are you doing here? Also with Mark Shaman as a piano player. And Billy Crystal and Billy Crystal and Billy Crystal, because he plays multiple roles. HP, the question remains, why do you hate me?
Don't get me started. No, I don't remember how I came across this recently. Maybe you can refresh my memory. We were communicating back and forth, and I don't know how the subject came up. Maybe I just went down a YouTube rabbit hole. But at any rate, I back then, this would have been 86, so we were 13 years old or thereabouts, and the VCR for us was everything. I would tape everything on the VCR, movies, TV specials, you name it. And I remember videotaping this and rewatching it. But I had mentioned to you that watching this, and this is available free on YouTube, by the way. There was no real effort expended to find this.
That is a hallmark of cable box theater. Everything we review can easily be seen, so don't pretend you can't go watch this.
Yeah, there's very little effort expended. But the thing that I quoted to you, that I messaged you, I said, watching this all these years later I felt like somebody who had amnesia and they suddenly remembered everything. Like they got their memory back because line readings, shots, scenes all came rushing back to me. These are things that I haven't thought about in 40 years almost, 86. We're coming up on 40 years. So it was a remarkable experience, to be sure. But to try to answer your question, of course, I don't hate you, but I had to spread the gospel of this because the fact that we're on the precipice of a new Spinal Tap sequel, it seemed very, very current and appropriate to delve into this lost piece of the mythology where you have Marty DiBergi, who, of course, was the fictional director of Spinal Tap. So I was just delighted by the fact that he's in this, and it's shot in a mockumentary format. Although I'm not sure how much of it was actually improvised. I suspect most of it was written, but I was charmed by it, and I wanted to see what you thought. So that was the genesis of this.
I think the improvisational parts that made it to the screen are the only funny parts of this special. Here's what I'll say. Okay, roundabout 1986. Billy Crystal, in fact, everyone here basically, in one way or another, seemed to have had a resurgence thanks to their appearances on Saturday Night Live. Christopher Guest and Billy Crystal were both cast members on basically, it seems like they finished their season on Saturday Night Live and then made this. I don't know if that's the time works out there, but anyway, so I watched every one of Billy Crystal's specials. I remember the one previous to this one a whole lot better than this one, actually, which is a much more straightforward hour-long one-man show. This is not that. This is part of a one-man show, and then a bunch of filler to fill out the hour, basically.
It was a weird hybrid, for sure. And at the time, I remember I had Billy Crystal. He had a comedy album called Billy Crystal Marvelous. And that featured the song You Look Marvelous, which I think Paul Schaefer was involved in. I think he might have performed and produced it. But nevertheless, I was very aware of his stand-up. I mean, I saw him on SNL and I knew him from Soap. He was in Soap when I was a little kid. But he certainly was on the rise. And I think the Marvelous album was a precursor to that shortly. I'm trying to think when... it probably came out in 86, actually. That's probably about the time it came out. But then all of a sudden, he got on a roll. He was in Running Scared, that movie with Gregory Hines.
Great movie.
We should from the train.
We should review this on. We could potentially call this show Crystal Clear.
Crystal Fest, no?
Clear as crystal.
This kind of presaged a real, I don't want to call it a renaissance, but it was because he had been doing this for so long. And yet here he was having this sort of second act as a comic actor, dramatic actor in some cases, and a director. So it was like the second coming of Billy Crystal, if you will. And this really was the flashpoint, if you will, these specials. But this one in particular, I thought of in that way.
Billy with the crystal plumage.
Always going back to, I was going to say Ellison.
Dario Argento.
That's it. Argento. I was going to talk about, never mind.
Harlan Ellison. I love Harlan Ellison.
Harlan Ellison. That's what I was going to say.
That's a weird one to go to. Anyway.
Weird.
All right. So the conceit here is that just like Spinal Tap, the conceit in Spinal Tap is that filmmaker Marty DiBergi has heard that Spinal Tap are going back on tour after an absence of some time, and now he wants to document that. And now he's gotten away from documentaries in an attempt to make I wish I knew do you know the title of the movie he made?
Like
in between, he says it at the beginning of this.
Attack of the Busty Women or something. It's implied that it's like something softcore, perhaps.
I said to myself, Marty, it's time to move out of that documentary bag and stretch yourself. Get into feature films. And I've done that. I just finished my first feature, The Attack of the Full-Figured Gals, which I understand the studio was holding for Academy consideration. So the documentary world was behind me.
And so now he hears that Billy Crystal is going to be doing this live special and he's gotten the documentary bug. He's going to film the lead up to the special. And in that vein, I guess I'm doing the plot here, HB. This is weird.
That's okay.
So Billy Crystal has gotten this rehearsal mansion, basically, where he's gathered together this group of performers and hangers-on. And, well, it starts as a party, and then they shoo everyone away who isn't involved in the special. But give us some of our guests, would you?
So the guests are Eugene Levy plays a producer. His name is Morty Arnold. And it's just an excuse for him to do his oily New York shtick. Eugene Levy doesn't have a ton to do, but he's fine, Eugene Levy. But the people that come to attend this, and these are all people that are supposed to help him write this and perform this special. So first of all, I guess in order of stardom, it's Billy Crystal doing Sammy Davis Jr. We'll get to the problematic bit there, and it is a problem. There's make no mistake. It's
not the only one. Not the only one. Can you dig it? I know that you can.
Not by a long shot. So there's Sammy, Brother Theodore, as you mentioned. Brother Theodore playing himself. We'll talk about him. Chip DiMentabella, which is
Corky,
I don't know.
Corky St. Clair.
It's Corky St. Clair adjacent. This might actually be the same choreographer from the synchronized swimming.
Oh, it definitely is.
Of SNL. They never say his name.
And then let's say you were to point at each other. You're doing the same thing, aren't you? No, you're not angry at him. No, you're just pointing at him. Right. Hey, you. I know you. I know you.
But it's basically the same. Hey, you. I know you. That's him. He's going to be the choreographer. He works with Sammy in this. Buddy Young Jr., which is another of Billy Crystal's characters. This might even be the first appearance of Buddy Young Jr. He's an old Borscht Belt comic in the vein of a Henny
It's Mr.
Youngman.
Saturday Night. It's this weird obsession of his with the Borscht Belt comedians and paying tribute to. Billy Crystal is always paying tribute to everything of his fucking childhood. And this Buddy Young character, this bane of our existence, this unfunny Borscht Belt, like sub Don Rickles, like he's like an insult comic kind of.
Yeah, he is. But I heard you say Mr. Saturday Night. Do you mean the Oscar-nominated picture, Mr. Saturday Night, Father Malone?
Yes.
Because David Paymer was nominated as Best Supporting Actor for... I'm as surprised as anybody to remember that, because it wasn't a very well-received movie. He wrote and directed and starred in it. It was his passion project. But this might very well be, like I said, the first appearance of Buddy Young Jr. He might have been on SNL as one of his characters.
Probably. He probably showed up on some special he did in the early 70s or something, late 70s or something. Like,
yeah, that's probably the most fully formed of the characters that we see involved in this sort of, this mansion that they're workshopping all of this material on. But those are the people that have been gathered to work on this special. Now, I want to talk a little bit before we get into the actual nuts and bolts of it. You talked a little bit about Brother Theodore. Now,
yes. Fascinating.
I admit I knew and still don't know much about Brother Theodore. My memory of him at the time was he was a recurring guest. He was a frequent guest on David Letterman, which I was watching religiously around this time.
As was I, yeah.
But much like Harvey Pekar, who I had no idea who he actually was, I only knew him as this, grumpy, angry guy that would be on Letterman every once in a while. Brother Theodore was basically in the same vein. He was I saw him as this sort of Germanic, angry, street preacher-esque guy that would just basically shout at Dave and just be generally truculent and unhappy. You seem to know more about the actual Brother Theodore and his shtick. Can you elaborate on who he was and what he represented?
No.
I thought for sure you were going to say, well, he was a performance comic from blah, blah, blah.
Here's what I know about Brother Theodore. Here's what I knew about Brother Theodore by the time this special rolled around. I recognized his voice instantly because I was a fan of those Hobbit and Return of the King animations, the Rankin and Bass covers of the adaptations of the Tolkien things. He was Gollum in those.
Good God, really?
Oh, yeah.
It is Trixie. It says he doesn't know the way out, but it knows the way in, my precious. It must know a way out.
And it's a great voice as Gollum. It's so wonderful. So I knew him from that, and I knew him from the Letterman appearances, and that's all. And then eventually, when I think of Brother Theodore now, I think of the Burbs, because he's one of the Klopeks.
Right, but that all stemmed from his oddball appearances on Letterman more than anything.
Right, so where did he come from? I have no idea, and I do not intend to know.
It's better him being a mystery, isn't it, a little bit?
Come to think of it now, he's one of the few mysteries left in my life, I think, so I intend to keep him that way.
Oh, one guest I neglected to mention, because he never actually makes it to this gathering. It's Fernando. I talked about the Marvelous album. Billy Crystal's biggest recurring character on SNL, I think we can all agree, was Fernando's Hideaway, which was he was doing Fernando Lamas, basically, I think, without actually calling him Lamas. He was, Spanish sort of bon vivant.
Latin lover.
Yeah.
But an aged one. He's got silver hair, and he's basically talking about the past now. Everything is crazy go nuts.
Mort, we got big trouble here, darling. I'm in the desert, near a town called Resume Speed. Yeah, I spent last night with the last remaining members of the Great Peace March. We had the hobos too, and it was pretty nice, I'll tell you that right now. Listen, Mort, I don't think I can get there tomorrow, even if I could. My agent, in his infinite lack of wisdom and height, had booked me to do the Hands Across America too. I got to be in Missouri holding hands with Peter Lupus from the Mission Impossible and Rodney Allen Rippey, who got so big people are going to think it's Scoey Mitchell or something.
Yeah, and he would always, that was his catchphrase. You
darling,
look marvelous.
Listen,
so
it is better to look good than to feel good.
And he periodically during this mockumentary part of the special, he gets lost driving to this mansion, and he'll call and say, "Darling, I don't know where I am," and he'll, it'll be a little bit of a comedy.
I'm in Oklahoma now, darling, with the tribe. They want to use the payphone.
So he is yet another character that Billy Crystal's doing. So they all gather, and I think you're right. The stuff that you can tell is improvised. There is some stuff. I know when Marty DeBurgi is interviewing Buddy Young Jr., I am positive that he's actually delivering this comedy in the moment, because I keep saying Rob Reiner, DeBurgi's reaction is so genuine. He's actually laughing real laughter, reacting really amused. He's reacting very amusedly to his antics.
See, this is what we're talking off the top of my head, what's left of it. That decided to recede around 19 boom, I'll tell you that one. Suddenly I wake up and my forehead and my neck are the same guy. It took me 4 hours to wash my face. I said, what the hell is this? I looked, there's an ass with eyes here. Who the hell knew that? I got an ass with eyes. I look like Daddy Warbucks. I don't know whether to wash my head or wipe it. It's nuts. Getting old is awful. I got a prostate the size of a void basketball now. I sit around. It takes me an hour to pee. I pee like a guy stutters. It's awful. And this is what you kids at home have to look forward to.
So that, at least I know, is genuine.
So Rob Reiner clearly is also a fan of that type of Borscht Belt comedian. He remembers them fondly, probably, from his childhood. So he thinks that's hilarious. I'm glad somebody found that character funny.
Yeah,
but I agree with you. It's clear that that's Rob Reiner, like, genuinely enjoying himself. And
he's laughing. Like it's not just a fake ha-ha. He's really having a ball watching Billy do his thing. But one thing leads to another. I'm just going to give you the nutshell, and then we'll delve into the actual like nuts and bolts of what was so off about this thing. Eventually, things fall apart. Buddy Young Jr.'s mother-in-law dies, so he has to leave this enclave. Then Chip Dementabella is working with Brother Theodore and Sammy, and he's given them, they're doing Who's on First. They're doing their version of Who's on First. And Brother Theodore gets so upset by the madness of it all that he hits Sammy in the head with a baseball bat, which prompts Sammy to leave. Then Brother Theodore leaves. Then Chip and the producer fellow leave. Everyone leaves except for Billy Crystal, who decides that, well, I guess now I have to do the special all by myself, and then we cue the actual stand-up part.
I can call in one friend.
Right.
This superstar will come and save the day. Who should I call?
Who does he call? Fernando shows up.
He calls Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I blocked that part out. That's the other troubling. Very troubling
I wish I could.
I forgot that's the premise. He goes, I'll call in a favor, but Whoopi has to drop out at the last minute because
because Brother Theodore also hits her in the head. Hey, who's playing Whoopi Goldberg? Who's playing Whoopi Goldberg here?
It's Billy Crystal. All right, you know what? We can't avoid this any longer. Let's talk about the real, the discomfort of watching this in 2025. Now,
I was uncomfortable watching it then.
If I'm being honest, it was a different time. Because he was doing Sammy all the time on SNL, and no one had a problem with it.
The thing because here's the thing: Billy Crystal is never punching down. He's never punching anywhere. He's trying to do the most accurate recreations of these people that he can. He is an impressionist in the truest sense of the word. If he's going to do Howard Cosell, then he wants prosthetics to make him look like Howard Cosell. If he's doing, I don't know, Jumpin' Jack Flash, he wants to look like Jumpin' Jack Flash. So he's just in the, there's no way to defend it. It sounds like I'm defending blackface here, but I'm absolutely not. Other than to say that everyone knew at that time that Billy Crystal was coming from a place of a deep love with his impression of Sammy Davis Jr. There is nothing but admiration and genuine affection from Billy Crystal to that man. And I know they interacted with one another, and I'm sure Sammy Davis probably, had some comment or another, but the fact is, he's not coming from a place of anything other than affection. And nevertheless, it was fucking horrifying then, and it's even worse now.
It's really bad. I agree. Like, I'm not impugning Billy Crystal's motives for doing this. I think it is, truth be told, putting aside the blackface part of it, which is impossible to do. I realize that. But taken as simply as an impression, and it is a solid impression of Sammy Davis Jr. At least
it is an incredible impression of Sammy Davis Jr.
Hi, I'm Sammy.
I'm Theodore.
Theodore, I've heard so much about you. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff together. It's going to be fun.
I can hardly wait.
Ouch.
He gets the mannerisms right. He gets the cadence right. He could even do a little bit of a soft shoe and kind of do his thing. All of this, however, pales in comparison to the fact that it's it's Billy Crystal in blackface doing Sammy Davis Jr. And that's not right. Bottom line is, it's not right. It wasn't right then, even though it was accepted. But thankfully, it is, not only is it no more right now, but it's not accepted. So you will never see him doing Sammy ever again, which is, I'm sure he would agree, is for the best. Also problematic is his impression of Whoopi, which made no sense to me because...
Why didn't he just call Whoopi Goldberg? Weren't they friends at this point? Weren't they doing like fucking comic relief and
comic
shit
relief?
together?
That didn't make sense to me because Whoopi, in quotes, only appears briefly to relate this story about how Brother Theodore hit her in the head with a baseball bat. So I don't know why he couldn't have just had her come in and do 5 minutes and just say, okay, do your special now. That's because, truth be told, his impression of Whoopi wasn't all that great, I didn't think, but
it's terrible. It's her character from her show. Like, it's not Whoopi Goldberg. Like, we all know, even then we knew what she spoke like. This is that sort of bubble-headed character she does.
Well, he does the server. Okay. He does a little bit of that with her. I was very uncomfortable with this. As a child, as a 13-year-old who didn't know any better, I wasn't troubled by it back then. It was a different time. You can be fucking sure I was this was the biggest problem I had with this. And how could I not? Because this is not acceptable anymore. But again, it's 1986. We're falling all over ourselves to make this excuse, but we can't make any more excuses for this. It is what it is. So having said all of that, let's move off of that a little bit. We'll talk a little bit. And actually, truthfully, though, if we're talking about problematic impressions, I have to say, Father Malone, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I was rewatched all of Christopher Guest's mockumentaries in preparation for the Spinal Tap sequel coming out. And I have to say, almost equally problematic, maybe more so in the eyes of some people maybe watching this, is his gay impression of his take on the character of Chip DiMentabella, which is a choreographer, but it's stereotypically gay in the worst sense of somebody who's just lisping and doing this, thing. I have to say I was as troubled by that now, I think, and it's something that hadn't occurred to me thinking about Waiting for Guffman, Corky, which is the same character, let's be honest. It's a little troubling now thinking back, and because that's one of my favorite movies is Waiting for Guffman, but trying to reconcile that now. Did you have any thought towards that yourself?
I've thought that in the past, certainly, but this time, the glowing sun that was Sammy Davis Jr., Billy Crystal, and blackface blotted out my vision for anything else that was going on here. And then certainly followed up by the sorbet that was the wax figure nightmare that was supposed to be Whoopi Goldberg. Am I letting him off the hook by comparison? Maybe, but it's easier to take than the full-on makeup.
It was. The only funny part, well, I think one of the funniest parts for me actually involves both of them, because through the course of this mockumentary sequence, he's trying to marshal Sammy to do these routines, and Sammy's eventually just like, I'm tired, my hip hurts, I can't do this anymore. And I don't know why I found this funny then, I found it funny now. It's
not the Sammy tap dancing routine, not the tap dance routine.
So Sammy says, I got it. I figured it out. I can rest and still do the tap dancing. So he gets a hard candy or a lozenge from Chip, and he puts it into his mouth, and he has Mark Shaman do the little, the bouncy dance, the piano stuff. And when he gets to the part where the tap dancing takes place, he puts a microphone up to his mouth with the hard candy or lozenge, and he rattles in his teeth, so it makes a sound like someone tap dancing. And Chip loves it so much that he puts one in his mouth, and he says, "Can we do a duet?" And they do this little, I don't know, I just... It was so weird, and so I'd forgotten totally about it that despite myself, I thought it was pretty funny, because you can see on Christopher Guest's face, this might be one of those improvised moments, because there's a smile that comes up on Christopher Guest's face where he seems genuinely having fun with this ridiculous sequence of them rattling a hard candy in their mouth to imitate tap dancing. It's ridiculous, but I thought it was pretty funny. I don't know why. Silly.
Yeah, the only laughs in the first portion of the special, the documentary part of the special, the mockumentary, the yock-umentary part of the special, are Christopher Guest and Rob Reiner for me. Christopher Guest, when we get his initial idea for choreography, is his gawky frame just bouncing all over that room is ridiculous. I could not stop laughing during that scene. The other thing that made me laugh out loud is Marty DeBurgi in his opening has blocked the scene, but not realized that the camera is basically going to go all the way to the wall, which he walks into. But it's so masterfully shot because we've stopped it just before the wall so he can deliver part of his speech. So it's him starting to move on and walking into it and then recovering and then going the other way. That made me howl.
It's a wonderful callback to the opening of This Is Spinal Tap, where he's doing his introduction. And if you listen to the commentary by guest McKeon and Shearer, he's walking past every piece of film equipment known to man. And the funny joke is, none of this is going to be used for this shoestring documentary, but he's walking by all these fancy Klieg lights and cameras and stuff. And I agree. That was a pretty funny little bit. And also to tie it back into Tap, I thought was pretty cool too. But Brother Theodore is funny too, that the who's on first bit, that the argument they get into, because Sammy is just trying to be the consummate performer, but Theodore is getting legitimately angry and he's shouting, and Chip is left to try to be the peacemaker between Sammy Davis Jr. and Brother Theodore. I thought that was somewhat amusing. One of the best things about Spinal Tap being an improvised movie is, despite the fact that they're coming up with this on the fly, they wrote down and they had blocked out what the scene was going to start with and where they had to get to, and the rest was up to the actors to come up with. I get the sense here there's no real plot to speak of. They get to this enclave, they try to work out the material, things didn't work out, and Billy Crystal is abandoned, basically. It's not a lot of story, but then again, we're only talking about 30 minutes worth of material, ultimately, because this is an hour-long special. Almost half exactly is devoted to this mockumentary, and then the other half is the stand-up bit that takes place at Hofstra University.
Ooh, I'll say it's a little more than half takes place at the mansion, at the rehearsal mansion. Incidentally, that was Billy Crystal's house.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. It's amazing. It's a palatial estate.
Yeah, he saved on a bit of the budget of the production budget here by just filming at his house.
That's impressive.
I'd also like to point out, I mentioned them at the beginning, written by Dick Blasucci and Paul Flaherty, in addition to Billy Crystal and Rob Reiner. Dick Blasucci and Paul Flaherty are fucking SCTV giants. They wrote like 39 episodes of that fucking show. And Paul Flaherty is Joe Flaherty's brother, obviously.
Yeah, that was my assumption too, yeah.
And those guys worked on fucking everything. Dick Blasucci in particular seems to have written at least an episode of everything. Simpsons, fucking The Larry Sanders Show, Martin Short special, just on and on. These are like, those are the guys. And anyway, I was just about to slag them off, cool. I get.
No, look, there are scattered bits of amusement to be had through this. If you can wade through the troubling aspects, the dated troubling aspects of the production and so forth. It's a little meandering, but I was charmed by it in some sense. Certainly, I preferred it to the back half of this special, which
what was missing?
What's that?
Martin Short.
See, I thought you were going to say Catherine O'Hara, and I was going to agree with you there, too.
Well, either one.
Yeah, well,
you know what this is missing?
Catherine
O'Hara.
There you go. I know the odd thing was the Brother Theodore thing, I thought came out of nowhere. Like I was questioning why he was there, but then I later learned that he had a television show, Billy Crystal did in the early 80s. And apparently Brother Theodore was involved in that. So it wasn't just a head scratcher of like, how did Billy Crystal and Brother Theodore get connected? I guess they had some connections to this other television show. But it also it has to be mentioned that we're making it sound like this was Billy Crystal's second act in his career, and that's true, but also bear in mind this was 86, so he would have been 39 years old. So it's not as if he was this over-the-hill comic actor who needed a break. I mean, he was in the literal prime of his career. It only seemed like he'd been around for a long time because he had been doing stuff like Soap, like I said, which was a groundbreaking character for its time. And of course, SNL, he was on there for a season, right?
Yeah, so, like I said, like the year before here, he was everywhere. We always knew about Billy Crystal. But this is the time period where he took off. This is right around City Slickers. This is right around, all the comic relief stuff. This is Billy Crystal's everywhere all the time. And this is on the heels of, you owned the album, the You Look Marvelous album. That fucking video was playing on MTV fucking nonstop. We couldn't get away from Fernando. He was involved with the WrestleMania there for a while.
But that was Mr. T and Hulk Hogan were on SNL the weekend of the first WrestleMania, right? Was it the first or the third? I don't remember.
It was the first WrestleMania.
Okay, it was the first. And
I
remember
when you laugh,
him,
your little things go bumpity, bumpity, bumpity.
Bumpity, bumpity, bumpity. We all remember that because Hogan couldn't hold it together. He was breaking on SNL there.
R.I.P.
Well, yes. I guess we can say that.
Rest anyway.
Yeah.
Just rest.
So long, Hulk Hogan.
Bye.
But yeah, so he was, if he wasn't already a household name, he was knocking on the door of being a household name. When Harry Met Sally, which was probably the movie of, one of the big milestones of his career, that was only 3 years away. So it's pretty, it's hard not to, I mean, he's such a household name now, but that was really, his star was on the rise. So it was cool. And like you said, he'd already been a veteran of these HBO specials. So this was not a huge deal for him necessarily. But let's talk a little bit about, and when I say a little, I mean a very little, because there's not much to talk about in the back half of this special where he's doing a stand-up routine. That's all it really is, right? He comes out, it's a solo spot at Hofstra. He talks often about how this is his homecoming. He's from Long Island originally. So
wait, Billy Crystal is from New York?
Hard to believe. I believe he's a Yankees fan. Don't quote me on that, but I think he is. And
first I've heard.
Not only that, he might be Jewish and he might have a big family.
See, I'm so glad we're doing this because I didn't know any of this about him.
So I feel like I know more about his stand-up routine than I actually do because that's the record that we keep talking about was mostly a recording of his stand-up bit. And a lot of the elements here come from that tried and true set that he had developed or what have you. But of all that, there's really three things to call out. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Father Malone. So the one routine that he did a lot, was his impression of his uncle doing a home movie in his backyard during a cookout, which is, truth be told, for a few minutes anyway, it's actually a pretty effective silent. It's all silent because it's supposed to have been done with like a little handheld 8mm camera.
So they dim all the lights. It's a spotlight on him, and he's moving in a sort of herky-jerky 16mm film manner, and it is very
as if it's been undercranked. So he's moving a little too fast for the actual like real, how he would move in real life. And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and it's him doing a barbecue. So he's flipping burgers. He does everything that everyone does in a home movie. Wave, pretend that they're singing, look at the burgers, pretend like, oh, yum, yum here, they're rubbing the belly, like, well, calling friends over, that kind of a thing. And you're right, it's very funny for 1 minute.
But it goes on for like 6 or 7 minutes because the uncle gets hit in the head with a ball. Then he starts yelling at whoever threw the ball, and then he's picking fights. And this all goes on.
He's like flinging food at people.
This could have been 2 minutes that would have killed. Like it would have just been in and out, and it would have been a really good bit. As it is, it goes on far too long, probably twice as long as it should. So that's one section. The next section is Fernando, who's been, who knows where he's been. He never made it to the estate, shows up at the show. And the weird thing is Billy waves from the stage and says, "Hey, look who's here." And then Fernando comes from the back of the auditorium and proceeds to do crowd work. But it's this odd conceit that they're two separate people. And I'm wondering, it just seems odd to me. Like, I wonder how they sold that to the audience that are there.
It was Billy Crystal went to the front of the stage and is in an adorable way went, now we're going to do some movie magic here where they're going to film me here. And then I'm going to come in. Fernando's going to be here soon, everybody. Yeah. And then we're going to film that. So play along that I'm talking to Fernando.
Sure. And like I said, all that amounts to is about 5 minutes worth of crowd work. He pulls people up from the audience. "How are you, darling? What's your name?" And then It has to be said, like, I know it's not laugh out loud funny and it's severely indebted to Borscht Belt comedy, but Billy Crystal is very comfortable doing improvised comedy in a crowd situation because he doesn't know who these people are, and he actually is very comfortable and he's funny. So I was actually somewhat impressed by that, even if it wasn't the best set in the world to watch.
As an audience member of this particular special, I will agree that he is best when he's doing that, and I wish he would just have done that.
Just the Fernando thing, or him going out and talking to people?
Fernando thing and talking to people. Just improv. If this had been a half hour of Fernando Lamas or Fernando's Hideaway, I would have been okay with that. He could have brought on some guests. He could have worked the audience. He could have had like some sort of like made it like a talk show, like a Letterman show for half an hour. It would have been great because
it would have been good. It would have been good.
Everything else. Anyway, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say was it occurred to me as I was watching this. We talked a lot about the blackface element of him doing Sammy and doing Whoopi. But let me ask you a question. I struggled with this a little bit. Is Fernando just blackface, but, you know, essentially Spanish blackface? Is it a similar thing? Because he's not Spanish. He's not a Latin gentleman. Could you levy the same criticism for him doing Fernando that we did him doing Sammy?
Well, you know, that you can give a lot to somebody if they don't do the brown face aspect of it. You know, Daryl Hammond ended up getting away with doing Jesse Jackson with no makeup on, you know, like because the impression was solid enough. And I think that's the same thing here. But at the same time, yeah, now I was thinking the same thing as he was doing the crowd work because we were inundated with blackface for the first half hour of this fucking thing that I had to like question all of his impressions.
It was just interesting.
Is he in the last portion of this, like being offensive to dim-witted Brooklynites?
Yeah. It's for just a silly, nothing special from 1986. These questions occurred to me that I hadn't really thought of in the past. Like I said, I hadn't thought of this special in decades, but I don't know. I just had to confront the fact, like, I think Fernando is funny, but what does that say about me? Does that mean that he's essentially doing blackface and I'm amused by that? It sent me down some odd sort of, you know, areas in my mind that to be honest, I haven't totally worked that out. It's at least worthy of discussion, in my opinion. I don't know that I have an answer for that or why maybe Fernando is good, but Sammy and Whoopi are bad in this case. I don't know. Maybe that says more about us than it says about him. I'm not sure, Father Malone. I know this is a lot. This is heavy when we're just talking about this stand-up special, but I think it's worth discussing.
Well, the thing is the joke with Fernando that he speaks in this sort of stereotypical manner, this sort of, are we making fun of his vocal patterns here? Or are the vocal pattern, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like, the thing is, as I said about the Sammy Davis impression, you never get a feel that he's punching down at all, that he's punching at all. He's just trying to do the best impression he can. So is this just a really great Fernando Lamas impression?
I don't know much. I mean, I know a little bit about Fernando Lamas. I think he put out one of those co-star records that was a big deal in the 50s. Have you ever come across these, Father Malone? As a side note, Vincent Price did one. I think a few actors did. It was essentially the actor in question, in this case, Fernando Lamas, would do a bit of dialogue on a record album, but it was between two people, and the person he was delivering the lines to would be left blank, meaning that if you're listening to this album, you could act with Fernando Lamas, or you could act with Vincent Price, or you could act with whoever. It was essentially like, you know, you would fill in the empty parts of the dialogue. You know, it was actually a funny thing. I would say, my memory serves, it wasn't so much an exacting impression of Fernando Lamas as it is a caricature of his smooth Latin sort of banter, you know?
I don't know. I'm so overwhelmed with the stereotypes and the sort of lack of grace when it comes to the impressions here that, once again, like, is the Christopher Guest one offensive by comparison? Or is it offensive in general? I don't know. I can't tell anymore.
It's like, it's a weird conversation to be having with yourself about a 40-year-old HBO comedy special, which at the time was
Billy Crystal's
offensive.
don't get me started. It's gotten me started. Now my brain can't shut off.
So we're not going to solve the issue here. We'll leave it to the listener to make your own judgments. I think we are as confused about the situation as anybody. So if you have any comments or if you have any insight, drop Father Malone a line. Let him know. We'll revisit this maybe. So that's the second. Unbelievable. Good segue. The third portion of the stand-up routine that he does in Hofstra is, and I've seen him do variations of this, not necessarily always this character, but it's a monologue that he does where he sets a scene and it's a character that there's some poignant aspects to it. It's funny. It's supposed to be a slice of life, but exaggerated a little bit. In this case, he talks about his 20th high school reunion. And this is supposed to be this sort of dim-witted Brooklynite who is, been through some things, carrying on a conversation with himself as he attends this high school reunion. And it was so weird. He talks a little bit like John Travolta, I guess, of the time.
Vinny
but what you learn is
he's
a Vinny Barbarino. Yeah. So it's essentially, in this case, it's an Italian caricature. If anything.
My God, Billy.
He can't get away from it. But through this monologue, you learn that this sort of hapless but kind-hearted New York kid went off to Vietnam and he saw some things and he came back, but he's actually really happy to be at this reunion, and he meets up with the girl that he dated in high school, and they share a lovely dance together. And scene, that's it. But it's a stock character that he's done a lot. It's so weird. He does a lot of laughing as he's doing it. I've seen him do a similar thing where, again, this is shading into, not shading, it actually is pretty offensive nowadays. He does a thing where he plays an old jazz musician from the 40s and 50s who is taking, I guess he's supposed to be talking to young Billy Crystal as a child. And, hey, the catchphrase was, "Can you dig that? I knew that you could." And there's no getting around the fact that he's doing an aged African-American type of accent. I'm sorry, Father Malone. I thought we were going to get away from this, but all roads lead back to this for some reason. But anyway, he's done these sort of slice of life monologues in other sets.
Oh, he certainly has. He is an anomaly of a performer, isn't he? He's half one-man show, half stand-up, half schmaltz machine.
Let me ask you this. Let's get away from this just for a minute. And I'm curious. We talked a lot about his catalog of work. Let me ask you, what's your favorite Billy Crystal performance? Let's say movie. What's your favorite Billy Crystal movie?
What's the one with Alan King?
Is that Memories of Me?
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. It was directed by Henry Winkler. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Jo Beth Williams was in it?
Yeah.
That's the one. Does he have Alzheimer's or something?
I'm kidding, by the way. It is all the schmaltz that is Billy Crystal. No, do not see that movie. Not even as a joke. Do not go watch Memories of Me. That's like watching, what was it called? Not Nothing But Trouble. That's the right fucking...
The one with Jackie Gleason.
Yes. Right? What is that called?
Nothing in Common.
Nothing in Common with Tom Hanks. Oh my God. Same exact movie. Just awful schmaltzathon. Just baby boomers trying to figure out their parents.
Do you remember what band did the theme song to Nothing in Common?
Ooh, no, I didn't. Let me guess.
I'm not looking anything up. I know this off the top of my head.
I want to say someone like the Dream Syndicate or something.
You're sniffing around the right places, Father Malone. Believe it or not.
Is it the Thompson Twins?
That was the actual name of the song. It was "We Got Nothing in Common and So Much to Lose." Yeah.
I am so excited that you said that Dream Syndicate was in the neighborhood, and the only band that came to mind in the neighborhood was Thompson Twins.
You were definitely, like I said, you were sniffing around the right area there. I thought you were going to go with Howard Jones after that because he's adjacent to the Dream Syndicate, but you got there. That's the important thing.
My other guess would have been Stephen Bishop because this is right in his wheelhouse.
Oh,
like
Tootsie, remember that?
Yes, exactly. And that's probably what I'm thinking of. Yeah. That's Someone Like You or whatever it is.
Something's telling me it might be you.
Something's telling me it might be you.
Treacle.
Copyright strike.
So anyway, you're not going to get away from this. What's your favorite Billy Crystal movie?
All right, now you're going to force me to look up Billy Crystal movies. Gross.
You don't have it off the top of your head?
I don't have one off the top of my head. I like Billy Crystal overall, but like, something's telling me it might be you. Oh, I know. Easily.
My life.
Easily. Okay, two things, HB.
Yeah.
Number one, these aren't movies. Can I do TV things?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. First of all, from 1981. Midnight Viewing is mainly a horror anthology podcast. There's a television series called Dark Room, which was a one-series television show hosted by James Coburn. And it was a horror anthology. And Billy Crystal starred in an episode. His character was named Patty, which means what? He was an Irish face? Come on, Billy. Leave some for the rest of us. Where he finds a makeup kit that belonged to like a Lon Chaney type that when he puts the makeup on for the particular character, he becomes that character. So like there's this bruiser character. So he becomes this giant guy who like, beats up the bullies that have been harassing him and stuff. And it goes on and on. That's one of my favorites. The second one weirdly has a connection to James Coburn. In my favorite Billy Crystal movie is Monsters Incorporated.
And I was actually going to go there as well. Those are good choices. That's solid, I would say. For me, I would say if we're talking television, maybe his...
Put that thing back where it came from, or So Help Me. So Help Me.
It's hard. I mean, Monsters, Inc. is great. And I think it's somewhat overshadowed by the sequel, which wasn't nearly as good.
Disagree 100% with you.
I thought the first one was... I didn't love the second one.
The first one is magic. The second one is a really good movie that is not as interested in tugging your heartstrings.
It was fine. It was fine. I'm not going to say it was the worst thing or the best thing, but
I have to ask you again, HB, for the second time. Why do you hate me?
I would say in terms of movies, I think he's actually quite good in Running Scared. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a fun movie.
I agree with
that. Isn't often thought of at that time. Throw Mama from the Train. I think he's fantastic in that. And that's Danny DeVito's directorial debut, if I'm not mistaken.
That is a very good movie. I agree with that too.
So those two are probably the ones that I would gravitate in addition to Monsters, Inc., of course, because it's great. As far as TV, though, I don't know, maybe his appearance on the Love Boat as the kissing bandit. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. You're right about this sort of amnesia,
it just comes back.
I realize how much Billy Crystal was in our consciousness. He was always around. That's the thing. That you can. It isn't like he left. It wasn't like he had a big thing and then fell off. It just seems like his career only got bigger and bigger. It is actually a remarkable career. I know I'm making fun of him for his schmaltziness and his sort of, he leans in. Look, the man has been mythologizing his childhood every day. He spent as much time in adulthood examining his childhood as he was a child. You know what I mean? It's the same span of time, probably more. Thinks about anyway.
Yeah.
Having said all that, the fact is, he fucking started out with nothing. He was a stand-up, and then he got his heart broken when he was cut off of Saturday Night Live, which I now understand, by the way, because he was given 7 minutes, and if it was going to be 7 minutes of fucking home movies of fucking, and it wasn't. It was that horrible safari routine, the potato chips. Yeah. Oof. Anyway,
they portrayed it in the Saturday Night movie, the one that came out last year. Remember? And actually, the actor who played him was very good, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. And that routine could have been done in 2 minutes. He didn't need all the setup. Just get out there and fucking do it, man. He should have done it. Anyway, from that to fucking when Harry Met Sally, he ruled the 90s with Robin Williams. They seemed to be everywhere all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Not to mention all of the Oscar, his greatest achievement might be hosting the Oscars, honestly.
He was, I think we can all agree, he was, I don't want to use hyperbole and say he was the best Oscar host.
He was the best Oscar host. He's the best Oscar host. There's no question about it. His shows were wildly entertaining.
They were entertaining, and it didn't feel like the next day after the Oscars, all people want to do is tear down the Oscar host for every little misstep, everything they did that they didn't like. I don't remember that ever really happening with Billy Crystal. I think everybody accepted that he had it down to a science, and he ran that thing like a well-oiled machine. So I'm surprised you didn't mention Animal Olympics. He did voices for Animal Olympics.
Oh my God. I know. And I named it a voice thing. You're right. I take it back. Animal Olympics is clearly my favorite of his.
There you go.
Oh my God. And you know what? He does Muhammad Ali in that, but he does it as a kangaroo. So who cares?
He also did.
Maybe had he done all of his characters here as furries, then this could have been an acceptable television special.
He did do a lot of Ali, didn't he? I remember him, even like he would make appearances with Ali on awards shows and do the and hold up his fist to Ali. I think Ali probably thought it was funny that this little Jewish guy from New York was, doing an impression of him. And that was always sweet.
It was a really good impression too. Like, make no mistake, Billy Crystal's impressions are fucking spot on. In some cases, not in Whoopi Goldberg's case. I don't know what that was.
It's the worst, but he did a very good Howard Cosell, which probably most of the listeners to this podcast probably don't even know who Howard Cosell is at this point.
Most likely not.
But he also,
speaking
huge.
of people nobody remembers, he did his impression here. He did it in his previous special too. His Yul Brynner is out of hand.
His Yul Brynner is actually very cool. He did that in the Marvelous album too, but here you can see him, because part of the magic of that is watching him walk around as Yul Brynner. Anybody who has watched Brenner in the Ten Commandments, which is the point of the joke, is he has him down to it. He's flawless. Also, he does Edward G. Robinson Where's your Moses now, Shay? Which is, I cannot watch the Ten Commandments and see him up there and not think of Billy Crystal, because he pointed out the ridiculousness. It's like John Wayne, doing Genghis Khan, right? It's one of the all-time worst, matchup of an actor to a role, basically. But look, my point is we bagged on this special a lot. There's certain charming bits, but I don't want that to sully the man's legacy. I mean, the guy has a body of work which is pretty well peerless, in terms of what he did, what he brought to the table.
You know what my favorite impression is of his?
Is it one we've already discussed, or is it a new one?
We haven't talked about it yet.
Oh, do tell. I'd love to hear this.
Blue crayon. Have you ever seen him do a blue crayon?
Maybe. Enlighten me. Maybe it'll come back like amnesia.
He takes a blue winter cap, and he peaks it on top of his head, so he turns into a blue crayon. And then he says, same blue crayon after a lot of sky, and then he smushes it down on his head. Fucking genius.
That is conceptual in a way that I didn't think he was capable of. I don't think I've ever seen that.
That's in the previous special, which, by the way, is wall to wall, these sort of character pieces, but somehow everything that Billy Crystal that I tend to feel is maudlin in his work works in that special. Like, it's the perfect encapsulation of Billy Crystal and his memories of childhood and his impressions and everything without any of the blackface. It's not present in that special, although he does dress as Adamant. And I think that might be offensive to Adamant, but he's kind of a dead ringer for Adamant. So
the name of the special that you're talking about is called Billy Crystal, a Comics Line, which is supposed to be a takeoff of a chorus line. And I tried, and I could not find any trace of it online. There is a brief chopped up clip where you can see him do a little bit of the Adamant stuff. And I agree with you. There's something about the shape of his face and the way his hairline is receding in a certain way that he is a dead ringer for Adamant. It was spooky because they made him up with the makeup on his cheekbones and stuff. He looks just like him. But my point is, I really wanted to find this based on your recommendation. I thought this could be a good prisoner exchange of Billy Crystal specials, but I haven't given up, but I haven't found it yet.
I also searched for it and yielded nothing. I think you can buy videotapes of it off of eBay, but I don't know that I'm going to do that just yet. So hopefully HBO, which owns all of these, would just fucking make it available, but it wasn't available there either.
I'm not sure, especially if it's a package deal with Don't Get Me Started. I'm not sure HBO would want him doing Sammy Davis Jr. and Whoopi Goldberg to be brought back up in the public consciousness. So maybe it may be a long time before we see that.
HP, this special has addenda. There is the lost minutes. There is a full other half hour of wandering around that mansion.
No kidding. I came across that listing of the lost minutes, but I assumed because the copy on YouTube is a video cassette copy. It's a rip of a video cassette. So I assumed that it was just incorporated in the video cassette, but you're telling me there's some bonus footage that I've not been privy to yet. Have you seen it?
I have not, because I'm terrified to go further into this fucking nightmare. Is he going to show up and be Toshiro Mifune all of a sudden?
Wow. That's pretty wild. I will brave the...
you let me know, brother. I did this one. I'm not going again.
I will try to check that out, but I'm intrigued because look, let's be honest, like the first half is so much more interesting than the second half. So if we can hopefully not get anything more offensive in this lost minutes piece, maybe it's worth it. I don't know. We'll check it out though.
Good luck.
I will look for it. But now, knowing that this is part of our series within the series of, HP Hates Me, I'm now wondering it. Now, is there something in the offering on your end that you're going to make me watch?
No.
There has to be something.
Nope.
No?
No, this is not a reciprocal thing. This is called HP Hates Me. You go to town, my friend, because I've opened this door stupidly. But after Rich Little, I thought, God, what other fiendish things could he have? And then out of the blue, you said, let's do this. And so, woof,
I've got, as Mr. T said, I got a lot more, Father Malone. I'll get there.
Good luck to all of us.
May God have mercy on your soul, Father Malone.
So thank you once again, Midnight viewers, for tuning into this crazy-ass fucking show that we're doing. HP, where can people find you?
So I co-host the Night Mr. Walters Taxi podcast with Father Malone, of course, and I'm an occasional guest on the Culture Cast with Chris Dashew. I also host the Noise Junkies Music Podcast, and I have a Bandcamp site with my music. Anyone who hears any of I do some of the music around the Weirding Way network, some of the themes and things, that's me. hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com. Go there if you want to hear any more of my musical noodlings.
And as for me, you're listening to the show Midnight Viewing. I mentioned this on another episode, but I'm going to mention it here too. It's well in advance. If in the beginning of October 4th and 5th, you happen to be in the Las Vegas area, please stop by the Silverton Casino at the Nightmare in Vegas convention, where HP and I will both be manning the Midnight Viewing booth, baby. We're going to be there for both days. We're going to be broadcasting live. We're going to have guests. We're going to have fun. Stop in, say hello. Until next time. Oh my God. Here, I'm going to play some Billy Crystal for you.
So this is your 10 commandments. Please, I only do it once. Moses and the Hebrews think they can witness my father.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts. and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.